All right, Marie, I need a lot of understanding and zero judgment. Okay?
That's how we operate.
This is safe space, right? Okay. So
This is, no judgment, complete understanding.
I caved very recently on something, and I want to show you what it was. And I can't.
Donna.
The Stanley.
No,
It's the Stanley water bottle.
It. He turned into a dad and he caved the first time he saw the Stanley ad on Instagram.
I know. I've been fighting it for so long, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to like this. And then I put ice in it. I put the straw in it. I took a sip, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is me. This is my identity now. And this is another episode of For the Love of Sport. So I'm going to my nephew's T-ball game. Prime time, Monday night.
Ooh, yeah. Monday night seems like it's, fresh off the weekend, prime time slot.
Yep.
So are you bringing, what's my
go-to?
I feel like this is another question here that I have for people. What's your go-to like seating arrangement? What kind of chair are you bringing? Are you bringing a beverage? Are you having a snack?
Yep. All right.
What's the vibe? What are you going with?
These are great questions. They're key questions. I think every one of our listeners wants to hear this, and we should throw this out as a debate in addition. My go-to is the foldable chair. You can't beat a foldable chair. And what comes to mind is the guy who just has one and he snaps it open real quickly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Sits it down.
Whips it out. Yeah.
That's what I wish I could do every time. Yeah. And I think my go-to weirdly is goldfish. If I'm not playing, you know what I mean? Especially if I'm just sitting and watching, I'm going to go goldfish.
Sure.
Because then I can share that out with my nephew if he comes up and he says, hi, Uncle Simon.
Snacking goldfish.
And I can say, yeah, absolutely. Be a goldfish. There you go.
Sure. Have a goldfish, kiddo.
I'm secretly 70 years old, dear listener. And then I had Werther's Originals too.
Listen, my grandma had those. Do not sleep on Werther's Originals. They are fantastic. Doesn't matter your age. I was probably going through like 20 of those in a night when I slept over my grandma's at like age 7.
So many rappers.
Sponsor us, Werther's. The hard candy of U Sports.
What about you? What's your go-to? Are you hitting the bleachers? Are you grabbing a folding chair? What's up?
Oh gosh, no. I'm usually the folding chair like you said, but I actually recently invested in a nicer little fold chair. It's a little lower to the ground.
Almost tactical, yeah.
And so it almost creates a recline. You can put your feet out.
Right.
It's a little odd because if you're sitting with people who are higher than you, you're just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Don't mind me, but I love it. It's very comfortable. I am a big fan of it. So I did that. Snack wise, gosh,
sure,
that's a good question. I feel like you got to just channel the inner child when you go to like U Sports, and it's like fruit snacks.
Great call.
Are always good.
Can't go wrong with fruit snacks.
You really can't go wrong with that. So I'll go fruit snacks, I guess.
Sure.
I'm kind of like a sweet tooth person, so let's go those.
That's a great lineup. You can't lose.
Yeah.
You're in for a great time, no matter if your team wins or loses or ties or whatever it is. I mean, and some comfortable folding chairs. It's great. And not to diss bleachers. Bleachers are great.
Sure.
Especially if you have the little rubber mats, the seats.
Stadium chairs,
The stadium chairs. Yes. Thank you so much. So why I bring it up, and this is why I was thinking about, going to my nephew's T-ball game, because he's starting this U Sports journey. And it's awesome. It's amazing. And, hopefully my kid will play sports. We will definitely advocate for that.
There you go.
But what comes to mind, especially as he starts this journey, and it's not my place to give advice, but if I were to give advice that's going to manifest and hopefully, be a great foundation to build upon who's starting this journey, what should it be? And at this point, I get an email from my dad, like he heard me just on the wind, and he sent me an article from the New York Times. And by the way,
I would say, this needs to be pointed out that Simon did share this with me, and it was at first I was quite confused at what he was sharing with me, and then I realized some context clues that this was from his dad, and how he addressed it was very adorable. Yeah. He called him Psy Guy, and I was just a big fan. So I wanted to make sure the people out there knew. At first I was like, SI Guy, and I was like, what's happening here? And I put it all together. Carry on.
Yeah. Why is he saying yes in Spanish before guy. That doesn't make sense. Yes, what? Guy. No, he sent me this excerpt from the New York Times article, and it was the Kelsey brothers, Jason and Travis, and they have a great platform itself. But they talked about, good advice, and it's a great reflection of humility and character. And I think it was Jason that remembers what his former Eagles defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, conveyed, that the best players in the league aren't necessarily the most skilled or the smartest, but the ones who are the most honest with themselves. And then there was the reaction to that. I imagine that's true across all professions. And it's true. That's got to be some of the best advice out there. If you're going to give someone that's going to start, that's so simplistic that can hopefully just like really blossom into a great playing career, just being honest. That goes to the rules. It goes to your abilities. It goes to, knowing what your shortcomings are and where you can improve, and that being honest, not trying to be frustrated. It's just an area to work on. I think it's just fantastic and wonderful advice that you can just use and grow upon. Mm-hmm. It's a solid foundation. I think we both can think of times when we were playing U Sports where we were not honest.
Yeah.
Maybe we were A, not honest, and 2, we witnessed someone not being honest, and how it can really leave an indelible mark in your mind.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I can even reflect when I would coach, and it's kind of twofold. It definitely touches on the athletes for sure, the most coachable and most, easy to play with and communicate with were always the folks that they knew when something went right, and they also, understood when they did something wrong and they didn't deflect on it. But I would also say that it's such an important thing with parents as well. Just be honest about where your kid's at. They are all on different growth trajectories. Just accept where they're at and make sure they're having fun and provide them an environment to do that. And the rest kind of work itself out at the end of the day. So
let's bring on our guest, who I'm sure is a huge fan of honesty, that we got to chat with at the United Soccer Coaches Conference. And he's a big deal, I'd say.
He's a big deal. It kind of felt,
in my opinion.
Yeah. I was like, when he agreed to be on and talk with us, it was like, oh,
yeah,
okay. We can do this. We'll be ready.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, 100%. No, it was really great to sit down and chat with him. And I've said it a few times of people that you hear their name and you're like, oh my gosh, wow, how exciting. This person's, doing so much and making such an impact. And then when you sit down and have a conversation with them, they're, just another human being on this planet, just trying to do their part to make whatever their, passion or specialty is in life a little bit better. So it was really cool to sit down with him. I hope our dear listener enjoys the conversation. So with that, let's get to it. All right, welcome everyone. We have Skip Gilbert with us, and this is a good one. He is the CEO of U.S. Youth Soccer, which is the largest soccer organization in the U.S. Before Skip was leading USYS, he enjoyed a very successful playing career with the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which is, I think, my personal favorite.
That might be the best name of a team ever.
On U.S. Olympic development teams, and he trained with Sheffield United for a stint as well. Outside of his playing career, he is also a licensed coach. So he's kind of got it all.
He does.
Some would say.
Certifications
Some
on
might
certifications.
Say that. Skip has always had a passion for sports, and he's served in leadership roles with USADA and across a couple other NGBs. So with that, Skip, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to the For the Love of Sport podcast. We're so happy that you were able to join us today, and happy you're here. And yeah, let's talk about the Rowdies for a quick second.
I know.
Because did the fans take that very seriously? Like, if we are cheering for the Rowdies, we are going to really bring a lot of energy.
The fans were rabid. It was just a fun experience.
Yeah. And so was the stadium, because I've been to the current Tampa Bay Rowdy Stadium, was it in a similar place, or is that brand new?
No, that's the current Rowdies have a new. Way back in the NASL days, we played at what we called the Sombrero.
Okay.
It was 80,000 seats. So back then, if we got 17,000 people coming to a game, which was a good crowd.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
It was like playing in a scrimmage because the stadium is massive.
Way too big. Yeah.
It just again, it made it very difficult. Yeah, and coming from the Northeast, where I used to go to the Cosmos games, and see 70,000 people in the stands.
Yeah.
You kind of go, hey, where the heck is everybody?
Yeah, wait a second. The game's at 7, right?
This isn't the way it's supposed to be.
Right on.
I love the tagline, soccer's a kick in the grass. What a fantastic way to really get people in. Well, again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. You were very passionate about the beautiful game, and you've dedicated life to its growth. I wonder if you can just talk to us a little bit about just the state of USYS right now and what you're looking forward to maybe in 2023.
Sure. And that's a
very loaded question.
It's a very loaded question. From our standpoint, the state of soccer in the United States is incredibly strong. It's also fractionalized that most people in soccer realize there are a number of different sanctioning bodies. USYS is one of them, and arguably the largest, going from the very grassroots nature of kids that, want to just kick it in the grass and will be diverted by watching the butterflies go by, to those that ultimately want to play for their country or play professionally here or somewhere around the world. So all of our focus is to be able to support whatever the dream is of the player and sort of the constituents that go with it. You've got the player, you got the coach, the club administrator, the referees, the parents. And one of the new segments are trying to stay connected to alum to keep them connected to the youth space. So there's a lot of different things that are going on, but knowing that 2023 is a pivotal year because we just came out of, one could argue, one of the best MLS Cups in history.
Oh my God,
one of the best World Cups finals in history. So there's this momentum. And you look at the women's game, the phenomenal success it had over in Europe this last summer with some of the European championships, which were outstanding. Absolutely. The NWSL is really getting into its groove. So the sport is really firing on all cylinders. And it almost has to, because in less than 4 years, the world is going to look at the United States. And the World Cup is coming. And so we have, as I think Cannon and Andre Agassi used to say, you only have one chance to make a good perception. And, this is our time to get things right so that leading up to the World Cup, we have everything moving in the right direction. So the legacy will be monumental, and again, I go back to the Rowdies days when I was sitting in the locker room and the press and the coaches are saying, we're the next wave of American great players. And we're all sitting back going, this is absolutely outstanding. And within a year, the NASL folded. So, we have to make sure we've got everything right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think having the World Cup here, I don't even know if people fully understand what that's going to mean. I think like a lot of people who are here understand what it means, but it's just this once in a lifetime moment where it's this massive, it's bringing the world to us. And it's just, that's
one thing
so
about,
cool.
I know it's true. It's one thing about the World Cup coming here is that's so important is that if people are like passively into soccer, they have no choice but to get into it because of how many people are going to be coming and going to these stadiums, and people all just get a ticket to a game. No, you won't. Like these things sell out way in advance. So having this come here is so amazing. And you talk about, creating a legacy and like the upcoming challenge of that with the World Cup. I'm wondering if you can talk to us about. I think of legacy and I think of just kind of where you've been and kind of coming from here. If we can backtrack just slightly and then we'll continue with our conversation of 2023 and beyond. Can you talk to me about just your own youth sport experience? What it was like back in the day, what you played? Was it always soccer? Or were there other things that you hopped into as a kid?
No, I grew up multi-sport. I played baseball. I ran track, played soccer, hit tennis a little bit. So you kind of went season by season.
Right.
And it wasn't until probably I think 7th grade when the soccer bug really hit me. I was a forward by trade, and before practice, I used to love to just jump in the goal and play. And back when I was a 7th grader, I was not a tall person. I was rather short, but in goal, I played, again, it was before or after practice where one game, our goalkeeper, who was about 6 feet for an 8-year-old or an 7th grade team, just watch a ball go in over his head. And I'm standing up at the center circle about to kick off. And the coach goes, hold on, Skip. you're in goal. And I never looked back. And that was the start. And so at that point, every other sport started to take a back seat because the love I had for that discipline of goalkeeping, really took hold. And I just, I still played other sports, but nothing aside.
Nothing like love for that game. So
for just one second, can I get a quick high five as a goalkeeper to goalkeeper? Outstanding. Cool. Okay, go on, Maria. I had to do that.
No, you're good. I feel like it's a little rare that I was a forward where from scoring goals to being switching to goalkeeper. I feel like that probably doesn't happen a lot, but
I had no choice. I was the youngest of three boys.
They were you're getting
goal, Simon. You're fine.
So you talk about, obviously you played a lot of sports until you found your passion with soccer, which I feel like a lot of, that's very common for kids. They'll play a lot and then you'll just naturally gravitate towards one and find a real love for it. Do you guys, at U.S. Soccer, obviously you're trying to grow the game of soccer. How do you approach kind of that dynamic of wanting to make sure kids get an experience to have multiple sports, but also if they are ready to really commit themselves to soccer, having avenues for both of those types of players? Because, that's really how you grow the game, being able to have programming and options for every single kind of kid that would want this type of experience versus the ones who you're saying are eventually going to be on the professional and, elite levels.
And that's the inherent challenge. Because in the past, the light went on as you entered your teenage years. Today, parents and clubs are trying to force the issue early. And I walk around you go into parks and you see 8-year-olds with a soccer tutor. Parents have hired people to actually spend one-on-one time with their 8-year-old. I was at a cocktail party in Connecticut when we lived up there, and a woman heard of my background, came up to me and said, "Please watch my son who is running across the yard." And she said, "Do you think he has what it takes to be a professional soccer player?" And I almost wanted to just walk away and just never come back.
You're wait, I need to grab one more drink and then we can
possibly do that. But that is it's the zeal that parents bring to the table, and it's something that we have to it's a behavioral modification. But again, you look at today, what happened with U.S. Soccer and the national team and the Renyas, those are parents that if they were any other individuals would have been chastised tremendously for stepping in and saying, my kid deserves more playing time. And so it's an interesting dynamic that, the pay to play model has left the station. We're never going to get rid of that. The charge that I'm seeing and we're really focused on is what is the alternative programming? If you look at education, it's pay to educate. There are parents that have the means. They're going to send their kids to private school or, to an Ivy League school. I've got 2 in Ivy Leagues and we're happy to pay that. But there has to be a public. I went to a public university. There really isn't, outside of high school soccer, there really isn't that kind of quote unquote public low cost entry. And we have to be able to come up with things like that.
So it's not talking about getting rid of one way or thinking one way is better. It's just having all of the ways, all of the options, everything that you could possibly, that would work for you as an athlete or work for you as a family. We need to be able to give that to kids. That's kind of the future.
And therein lies a huge priority for us is across all youth sports, as kids get to 12, 13, 14, they drop out. They're not having fun. They don't think they're good enough. They can't play with their friends. And so they move on to something else. We need to be able to create that alternative programming. In today's world, it's less about barriers of, if I'm a kid, I want to do something, I want to do it now. As a 13-year-old, I may know that I'm not going to play for my high school, college, or my national team, but I love the game. But I don't necessarily want to practice twice a week and play 11v11. So is there opportunities out there to do something else, but stay connected to the game? And that's something that we need to kind of get our arms around. And if you look at the youth sport kind of complex, if you will, basketball went 3v3. It's now an Olympic sport. Hockey is going 3v3 pond hockey. And all of it is to keep kids connected to the game. Lacrosse is on an upswing around the country, but they're already looking at their kids that are leaving the sport. They've started lacrosse sixes, smaller field, smaller game. And probably the poster child for that is football. Concussion was driving kids away. They came out with flag football. And that's bringing girls into football in droves.
Yes, that's something that we've geeked out quite a bit with flag football, and especially we got to talk with Justin Prettyman, who's of the San Francisco 49ers, and he talked about their investment in California, in the Bay Area.
Again, I think this country is so large. There's so many kids that want to play the game and are currently playing the game that might leave the sport. Why not try and let's see what communities can come up with? I don't think this is a top-down paradigm. I think this is something that communities themselves are going to come up with. What's the right programming? You're never going to get rid of the 11v11 and the current mix that gets kids into the high school, college, pro, national team pathway. But there has to be something else to keep kids engaged. And what that is, again, I think the sky's the limit. There's a lot of programming out there, sort of these one-offs that we're trying to look at. But again, it's are you trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, or are you going to cut the square hole so the round peg can fit with everybody else?
What's something where coach said, hey, we're doing this, and you were just like, you got the opportunity? Yes, I cannot wait to hop into this. Knockout was mine. That was my favorite.
What was Keepers?
Keeper Wars, before Keeper Wars now is actually a thing.
That's true.
We used to go through the Keeper Wars, and those were great.
Oh, man.
Those were a lot of fun. And to me, obviously as a keeper, anything that involves the keeper, I was, let's go. But Keeper Wars for me at least was great. But as a field player, the knockouts, all of those things that are just a little bit different than what you would expect from an 11v11 scenario, it just challenges you. It makes you think, it makes you aware, both spatially to see where everybody is, and also being able, if you bring multi-balls into it, to be able to, that complexity of how do I get rid of what's at my feet and what's coming behind me. So, all those sorts of things they're just fun.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit. I've got maybe a 3-part question, 2-part. We'll say 2-part. It's a 2-part.
I'll keep track of them for you.
No problem.
Okay. So on the show, we like to make sure whenever we're talking to someone, we're giving the people who are listening, like a tangible thing that they could take back. So there's org admins listening, parents listening, maybe athletes listening. So of those 3 groups, and you can answer it, maybe it's all the same. What's one thing that in the next, before the World Cup, that each of those groups can do to make sure that when the World Cup is here and we're ready, that we're in our best, soccer is at its best place, or it's at the highest we've ever been? What are things that organizations can do? What are things that parents can make sure that their kids are, doing to help
coaches,
make sure that the game is where it needs to be? What would you say from your perspective?
If you look at it, let's start with the parents' perspective. The best thing the parents can do is twofold. One, learn the game. There are a lot of parents that may not have necessarily played, and so they don't necessarily understand when a referee makes a call or when a referee makes a non-call. That opens the door for them to be able to scream bloody murder. And so from a behavioral modification standpoint, we need parents to learn the game, but then take it the next step, that don't become the player of the game. And so by that, keep the mouth closed on the field of play, but also on the drive home. Yeah. Because a lot of parents take the opportunity on the drive home to become the coach. And no player wants to get a monologue from their parent about what they did or what the coach didn't do, or, whatever it might say. They think that they're helping, but the reality is they're actually driving their kid away from the game. And so from that standpoint, that's the parent aspect. On the coach's side, there's always the pressure to get kids to be the best they can be. But no matter what the coaching discipline is and how they approach their curriculum and their games, it's still a game. And they have to be able to keep it fun. So, that side of it, still needs to be able to come out. And I look at it from a coaching perspective. You want to be, as a coach, to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what, someday in 20 years, when my players are asked, who was the coach that made a difference on my life? Who is it going to be? And am I positioning my practices and my games and my whole relationship with the players to be that coach in their lives? Because again, it's not just on the field, it's what they do off the field. So I think between those two, that's really where we can continue to go.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot, and we have, I know, with other guests on the show, about how coaching it's so much more than just the time that you have during a game or like directly during practice when you're trying to like teach a skill. It's oftentimes about like the 15 minutes before practice starts? Are you engaging with your players? Are you having conversations with parents as they're dropping those kids off? It's the time between games and a tournament. Are you choosing to spend that time with your players? Are you choosing to just kind of go off and do your own thing? And I think that part of coaching and that part of like growing your athletes and the relationships that you have there's so much value to that I think oftentimes gets missed. When you talk about a great coach and all of that sort of stuff, which I know we've definitely talked about previously, but it was interesting that you brought that up, Skip, and I wanted to just double down on it a little bit more.
It's vitally important because if you think about soccer being a microcosm of society, a lot of the skills that we learn on the field, the characteristics that we pull out of the game, we bring to our personal and professional lives. I look at it as a goalkeeper, seeing the field in front of me and being able to direct where our defense goes and how to be able to transition from defense through the midfield into the forwards and position ourselves as the attack comes. The same can be said in business, to be able to see in front of you all that's developing with your competition. What are the new trends? How do we react to X, Y, and Z? It's the same kind of training. And then the application of those skills and those characteristics into your day-to-day life. So
you're saying goalies are in fact the future. Is that what I'm hearing?
They rule.
Yeah. Keepers rule. They're the key to success.
Keepers rule.
It's perfect. It's very validating as a former keeper to hear the head of USU Soccer say that my former position is the most important.
I'm just going to pretend like I didn't hear it as a forward. But carry on.
I think that's really well said, and I appreciate that selfishly as a former keeper. But I think outside the parent perspective, when we talk about injecting fun into the game, to make sure that kids are having fun and to not overstep your role, what's something that an organization can focus on to make sure that the love of the game, the love of soccer, and maybe not even soccer, just the love of their specific game is still healthy and alive?
From an organization, you mean like a big club that's got teams across different, age groups, gender, that sort of thing?
Yes.
I think it comes down to opportunity. Again, a lot of clubs, there's a hierarchy that you have the elite players. And then for some clubs, you have the recreational players. And one of the things that we came out with in the last couple of years was this League America concept with the thought process that, I hate the term rec player because it's generally preceded by the word just. He's just a rec player. She's just a rec player. And when you do that, you create that hierarchy within your own organization. And so for the kids that are playing at the social, the rec level, sometimes if they don't see that they're ever going to make your first team, you start to disenfranchise them and you've created that pathway for them to leave. And so you have to be able to balance that so that every kid feels important, that they've got something that is really vital for the club's growth and development, no matter which team you're playing on. It's a really difficult thing to be able to articulate because, again, you're always going to have the first team and then you're going to have, the 10th team. But the 10th team still has to get as much, if not more, attention because those are the kids that are going to leave the sport.
Let that marinate.
I am. That's why I'm kind of sitting back and just like, it's great to speak with you, Skip. And I think we're very appreciative that you were able to take the time and connect with us. I feel like now is a good time as any just to start with our this or that. You ready for this or that segment?
Sure.
Have you been prepped?
Have you been practicing? But I've not been practicing.
That's okay.
I'm coming
like
in
that.
As a newbie.
We like that. Here we go. Okay, so this or that. We got 8 questions.
Okay.
Gut answers only.
You got it.
No thinking. Zero thinking.
I'm
involved.
good at that.
Here we go. Number 1. Soup or nachos?
Soup.
To relax, couch or recliner?
Couch.
Cups in the cupboard, are they right side up or upside down?
Upside down.
GIF or GIF? How's it pronounced?
GIF.
Best halftime snack, orange slices or Capri Sun?
Orange slices.
Are you scoring off a direct kick or a corner kick?
Direct kick.
Penalty kick score or save for the win?
Save, absolutely.
I was thinking. All right, last one. Let's imagine LeBron James went for soccer at an early age. Where are you placing him on the field?
Midfield.
Oh, I like that actually. He could run the lengths all day. And
he can run, he can direct, he can.
Yeah.
Midfield.
He's a pass first too. Like I can absolutely see that. So what, like, is it just his stride, his just mental game? Like you said he could direct. Could you go like further in detail with that?
I think he's someone that can see the whole world in front of him and behind him. So the multi-versatility of that athlete allows him to dictate the game, and it's one of those that you want him on your offense. He can score, but you also knowing his compassion on the field, or actually his focus on the field, defending. I would not want to be trying to dribble that ball past him, because he will take you out, and he'll do it outside the 18. So as a goalkeeper, I know he's going to take someone's legs, but it'll only be a direct kick.
I would have so much confidence being a goalkeeper with LeBron back there.
Get 11 of him, clone him. We're in good shape. We're 10 of them.
We're good. Is there, any other words of wisdom? I'm actually a sucker for motivational quotes. Is there anything that comes to mind that you'd like to leave? Any other final wisdom to impart to our audience?
They say soccer is a lifestyle. Our vision really is bringing communities together through the power of soccer, making lifelong fans of the game. No matter where your journey takes in the sport, stay connected to it, because you can become a lifelong fan. And that's where the sport wins.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Simon, I have a question for you as a completely unbiased, no personal horse in the race, Premier League fan. Are you ready for my question?
Sure.
You wonder where this is going? Mm-hmm. Who's at the top of the old table right now? I got to know.
You want to say it with me, dear listener? Manchester City.
All together now. Yes.
That's
Thank
right.
you, everyone. Yes, Manchester City is looking to complete their title run again this year. I cannot wait to watch. I mean, I guess you never really know till you know. But I think there's a few teams, maybe your Spurs being one of them, who might be comfortably in the place that they're in.
Yeah, they're good. They're owning fifth and holding that fifth spot down.
hard and tight. Very good. What about Nottingham? How are they doing?
This is the genius of the last day of the Premier League, is because it's not only the championships, but it's also all these teams fighting so hard to stay.
Yeah.
It means so much to the communities. I'm cheering for Nottingham Forest. I want them to not get relegated. I want them to stay in the Premier League, because that fandom, that community, that team is so cool to just watch. And I can't wait, hopefully, to go someday.
Yeah, it always feels like there's storylines, big things happening on the last day. So if you are interested in tuning in, figuring out who's going to win, who's going to get relegated, promoted, the Premier League's grand finale, Championship Sunday, is on May 28th, with all teams competing in the last day of the season across 10 matches on the networks of NBC and streaming on Peacock. Manchester City's title race and relegation battle are heating up, so it will be a very exciting final stretch to the season. I will be tuning in. I know Simon will be in his best Man City garb that I'll send him here shortly, rooting us all on to victory. All right, Skip Gilbert. It's always an interesting little exercise, I think, for us, since we do record things in the past, and this one particularly has been in the backlog for a little bit. Listening back to it and remembering the conversation, but also being like, dang, that was that was before you were a dad, Simon. That's kind of crazy. You literally didn't have your child yet.
I know. Blissfully unaware. I could just do whatever I wanted.
Just enjoying life, hopping about.
If I saw a duck in the street, and I would be like, I could just follow this duck around for a while. I have no responsibilities. It's wild. It's a lot like time traveling. It's fun to be able to talk to people like Skip and having him have the chance to sit down with us and those. I mean, really, we were containing our geeks because we had to act professionally. We had to ask good questions. And he just brought so much good energy.
He did. Yeah. I mean, when I listen back to the one piece of this, and I think it's kind of especially in soccer, and maybe just because I've been so closely tied to soccer, youth soccer, that is, there's kind of this stigma around competitive versus rec. And if you do rec, you're not giving your kid the best possible situation, or they're never going to grow or get better if you're, he said just doing rec. He said it's often rec is talked about with the word just before it, as if it's a lesser or whatever that may be. And I think this kind of ties back to the honesty thing at the beginning. If your child loves to play soccer for maybe more of just like the social, I want to get out, I want to play, I want to be with my friends, I want to be in an environment where I feel like I can really excel and grow and get better. And if that is rec at the time where they're, wanting to make a choice to play whatever sport it ends up being, there is nothing lesser or wrong with playing rec versus a competitive program. That's also not what they're going to play for forever. If they end up really enjoying it and wanting to take that extra step and spend a little bit more time doing it more competitively, great. That's always something that they could do. So I really liked his take on that, especially hearing that from like the CEO of the biggest, one of the biggest governing bodies of soccer in the U.S. Like, it's not just someone off the street saying like, rec is important. It's the head honcho.
He's the guy.
And they're putting in the time and effort to make sure that the programming that they provide to each of the states, and thus all the clubs in each of the states, providing rec players with just as much opportunities and areas for growth as other leagues. So I thought that was really cool to hear from him.
Yeah, 100%. Very well said. I'll try to tie this back to honesty too. He had some great points surrounding, keeping that passion alive for those kids on these teams and limiting burnout and increasing fun in those organizations. And there's always going to be things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
People move away, they find a different club, their passion shifts, they want to go somewhere else. But, there are really, if you can be honest with yourself about the program and honest about where can I improve, and if experience is one of them, then ensuring that making that experience as beneficial as possible, as enjoyable as possible, is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Even if soccer doesn't turn out to be their favorite sport, they still come back because it's fun and they've had that fun memory, that they can just spread to others. I think that really resonated with me. I got to a point where soccer was way too much. I love the game.
Yeah.
It's just not my favorite sport. And then I focused elsewhere. But I didn't completely write it off. I never got angry. Mm-hmm. It was always a positive experience.
Yeah.
And it's just something important to keep in mind. And shout out to our coaches who kept that, love for the game alive. And don't take for granted the experience you are providing to these kids.
Yeah. It just goes back to like, if someone's not enjoying it anymore, they're, doing too much, instead of it leading to burnout and then leaving sport, which we know the rate of youth sports athletes burning out and leaving is so high.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, can we provide them with an alternative program that might be a little bit less demanding?
Exactly.
That still allows them to play the sport and get involved and grow your, organization. All those good things can still happen for them if it's not an all or nothing type thing. So we've actually, looking back now, having the Savannah Bananas on, in the previous episode and having this kind of conversation, it really meshed well together without us even
100%.
trying to plan that. So kudos to us. We just nailed that.
Nice job.
Well done. And speaking of fun, another fantastic transition. Simon, we're back with a fun game for you.
Oh, nice.
We haven't done games in a while.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Ready.
So what we're going to do on the theme of sports and movies, these are movies that aren't necessarily sports movies, but they do have sports in them. So we're going to make a little bit of a tie here, okay? So I'm going to ask you, I've got 4 questions.
All right.
Looks like 3 questions, but then a bonus point at the end for the last one.
Okay. All right.
I think they get progressively more challenging. So we're going to see what happens. All right. So question 1.
Okay. All right.
When Forrest Gump joined the Army, what sport did he excel at?
Ping pong. Right?
This is...
I had a 1,000-mile stare at first.
How do you know?
I was like,
correct.
He played,
The answer is ping pong.
Yes.
Wow. I did not expect you to get that. Based on the facial expression he delivered as I was reading it, I was like, there's no way he knows this answer. Okay, 1 point for Simon. On to the next one, and you should definitely know this one.
Okay.
Because of our Minnesota ties and hockey, but whatever, we'll ask it anyways. In 2004 movie Miracle, which actor plays the role of legendary ice hockey coach Herb Brooks, who leads the U.S. team to a gold medal victory at the 1980 Winter Olympics? And for an extra point, which I'm just throwing on right now,
okay,
can you give your best impression? of one of the scenes from the movie.
Oh boy,
there's a few I think you could go with.
Well, first of all, big shout out to, and to answer this right now, Kurt Russell, who plays Herb Brooks.
Correct.
Big shout out to him for investing in learning the Minnesotan accent, and he kind of nailed it.
Oh yeah, he nailed it.
If you want to learn or hear what Minnesotans sound like, he got pretty darn close. So, and you could hear it each time. Every time he said again, the word again. The quote that comes to mind is not really family appropriate.
If you went into the whole speech, I was gonna be like,
I can't really say it. I mean,
no.
The quote that comes to mind is not family appropriate. It's the one that's, the bruise on the leg is the long way from the heart, you candy ass. And there's this huge just back and forth with him and the hockey player. Who you calling candy ass? I'm a hockey player.
I'm a hockey player.
I am a hockey player.
Okay, good stuff.
I'll do my best. Okay, here we go. He's on the line. He's got a whistle in hand.
Yeah, here we go.
Again. That's the best I can do in this situation.
That's pretty good. Yeah. All right. You're two for two. Question 3. During a pivotal scene in an iconic 1997 movie, main characters Will and Sean discuss skipping Game 6 of the 1975 World Series between the Cincinnati Reds and the Boston Red Sox to go on a date with a girl. What is the name of the movie?
Oh my gosh.
There are some context clues in there. I would key in on Boston. And key in on the main characters, Will and Sean.
Okay. Will and Sean in Boston.
And like I believe it won an Oscar Best Picture in 97. Amazing movie. I would put it in my top 5.
Okay, hang on. Good Will Hunting.
There you go. Yep, Good Will Hunting.
Yes.
I probably gave you too many clues, but that's okay.
I appreciate it.
Sorry, Joe.
Thank you. Very helpful. Thank you for the clues.
Okay, and so this seems unlikely that you're going to get it, but I've been surprised before.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. For a bonus point, what is the name or nickname of the player who hit the walk-off home run for the Red Sox?
Oh.
He has a great nickname.
Oh my gosh.
Is the comment that was left with this. I've never heard of this person before, so.
In 96?
I imagine it's a real in the 1975 World Series.
Okay.
So it'd be a 75.
Carl Yastrzemski? Am I making up names? What?
You were shockingly close on the first name, but add a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air
Carlton
twist on it. Yeah.
Carlton Fisk.
Yes, there you go. How do you know these things?
My brain is filled with just useless knowledge that just comes out in really weird times.
Do you know his nickname?
No.
Pudge Fisk. Cute Pudge.
That's perfect.
So there you go.
That was a good one.
That's it. Those were the questions. I would say they were like a healthy amount of stumping, but still allowing you to get to the right answers. You know?
You did that very well.
Exactly. So awesome. Thank you to our full-time employee, Joe.
That was great. Let's tie a bow on this one.
This has been another episode of For the Love of Sport, brought to you by Sports Engine, the home of U Sports.
As always, feel free to send us out an email at ftlospod@nbcuni.com. We love hearing from you guys, so please don't shy away with any questions. Sending us, give us a topic, this or that. If you want to be in the podcast, if you just want to shoot us a little quick email, whatever you have.
Just shoot us a little note.
We'll bring you on.
Yeah, we'll bring you on. And a huge thank you to obviously our team behind the scenes who make all of this happen, allow Simon and I to hop on here and do a little jibber jabber, as we have now deemed ourselves I think I'm the jibber and you're the jabber for
like
sure.
That a lot. We'll get shirts made.
Cheers to our team, Kelsey Irwin, our marketing manager, Joe Brazonik, our newly promoted producer on the back end, and of course the amazing sound engineer, Troy Stone. So we will be back in a few weeks with another episode. We will see you then.
See you again soon.
Bye.